Today we're going to be discussing a little bit of sampling and experimental design. This is lesson 1, Intro to Designing a Study. It's anchored versus regular putting. Okay, first of all, let me just introduce you to what anchored putting is. So you can see these gentlemen here have a putter that's going all the way up to their chest and it's anchored on their body. But recently, anchored putting was actually banned from in the PGA. Actually, not recently, but several years ago. And I'm going to show a video of why and what's going on.
The very essence of playing the game has been to grip the club with the hands and swing it freely. The player's challenge is to control the movement of the club when striking the ball, and anchoring the club alters the nature of that challenge. So let's look at what the proposed rule change means for golfers. While the new rule would allow the continued use of conforming equipment, including belly length and long putters, it requires that these clubs be used in accordance with the new rule. These are examples of strokes with these clubs that would not be allowed by the new rule. Here, the strokes would not be permissible because the club or the hand gripping the club is held intentionally in contact with the body. Under new rule 14-1B, the penalty would be 2 strokes in stroke play or loss of hole in match play.
Okay, so as you can see in this particular putting stroke, what they did was they actually held the putter right next to their body, and that was the problem. So today, what we did in class is that I gave people the regular size putter where you saw in the very beginning of the video, and then the longer putters that they were able to hold onto their body, and that was anchoring. And there's a disadvantage to those that don't hold it on their body, and that's why you heard in the video, you're supposed to be able to swing the club freely, and if it's anchored to your body, it's not you doing it, it's your body holding it and anchoring it. So they proposed it to not be allowed anymore. So what I did is I had them sit in groups and I said, look, I want you just to design a study of what you think would be good to actually do an experiment. And then we went out into the hallway and I had greens and different size putters, the anchored putters and the regular putter, and they tried it. And afterwards, we kind of talked about how they could actually change their experiment a little bit. So this is called a completely randomized design. And this is one way you should have done it. I didn't really tell you guys like what was good and what was bad. That's kind of our learning in the next couple of weeks. And then you're going to go back out and you're actually going to do one that has a little bit better design. So a completely randomized design is if you have students and you randomize, like what we learn in class of how to use the calculator as far as doing a rand INT, you put their names in a hat and you shake them up and you completely randomize who putts first, which type of putting they do, all these different things. So you can randomize assignment as far as maybe who gets the long putter first, who gets the second putter second. And you need 2 groups because you're trying to control it. You want to make sure you compare one versus another. So the data that they're going to be collecting, and actually the way this one is doing is one gets a short putter and one gets a long putter, and they're comparing them instead of the way a lot of the students did, which I really preferred, was a matched pair design where you compare yourself to yourself, where you do the long one and you do the short one. The data you collect, your proportion, I saw some people doing they would measure how close they got to the hole, and they do the average distance that they got from the hole, and that was great. The way this one suggests is that you do the percentage or the proportion of how many get in the hole. So that's another way to do it. Variables you're trying to control, the distance to the hole, the noise during the putt, the same type of ball, same path to the hole. I had 2 different types of putting mats, and so if you used the one type of putting mat for the short one, you would want to use the same putting mat for the long one. What if one putter was better for short and one for the long? So you would need 2 different distances. I saw a lot of people did that. They did a long distance and a short distance. And also, what if some of the people in the experiment were really good at golf and others were bad? Then will that affect the results? And it could, absolutely. So you would maybe need to split them up first if you have experience in golf or if you have no experience in golf. I noticed in the class a lot of times I spent time kind of just walking around showing them how to do a basic putting stroke versus, and some of the kids were actually on the golf team, and so they were just fine and they already had an advantage. So that would be called a confounding variable if you were already good at golf, because here you're good at with the short putter because that's what you play with every day, and you're going to beat the long putter because you're not used to the long putter. And so that would be a confounding variable. It's not that the short putter is better, it's that you're better because you're with the short putter because that's what you practice with every day and you're used to it. How big of a difference is it needed to be convinced that the long putters are better? A decent sized difference is needed. A small difference could just happen purely by chance, and we call that statistical significance. Okay, that's it for our introduction. I hope you enjoyed this experiment, and if you would like to go ahead and experience it, I have the things at school if you were absent for this, and you can come on in and do it during Eagle Hour. Okay, thank you very much.